Hello, everybody, and welcome to this first Highcon Fireside chat. My name is Simon Lewis, and it's my pleasure to welcome you, and I can see that we have participants from all around the world. Particularly, I'd like to welcome our special guest today, Richard Brown, the president of the BoxMaker. We'll hear all about the BoxMaker in just a moment. This is an opportunity for Richard to talk about the BoxMaker, its past, present, and future, and how Highcon fits in to that story. Obviously, as an online audience, we're delighted to have you with us. We have a Q&A panel as part of this Zoom room. You can click on the button and insert your question. We will try and field the questions at the end of this call. Nothing that you note will disappear, and someone will make sure that we answer the questions or get back to you after the call. And so with that, I think we can start off. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Simon. Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today, Richard?
Doing great. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Perhaps you can start by telling us just a little bit about your company, its background, history, what it does, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. The BoxMaker, actually our 40th anniversary will be next month. And so the business was created in 1981 as a small sheet plant in the corrugated industry. Since then, we've expanded quite a bit. We have very broad capabilities, including conventional and digital equipment in corrugated, label, protective foam. We have a distribution operation where we supply all of the ancillary products. And we're primarily located in the Pacific Northwest, but we recently acquired a business in the Bentonville, Arkansas area, and we're building a new digital plant that'll open later this year in Arkansas.
Okay, and what kind of markets and applications do you serve, Richard?
Oh gosh, I mean, the modern applications that we serve, our markets and applications that we serve, sorry, are really, I mean, we serve a direct group of brands through a sales force, a very traditional model, B2B. We serve trade partners, and we also have a web to print business called fantastipack.com. As far as the product groups associated with laser, they're primarily mailers, inserts, and pads, but I see that expanding over time.
Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about Fantastipack. How long have you had this web-based business, and how big, what share is it of your total business?
Yeah, we started Fantastipack 5 years ago. We were one of the early entrants into the web to print corrugated business. And gosh, Fantastipack now makes up probably 15 to 20% of revenue. And we also sell, we manufacture for some other web to print sites. So that entire group of web to print clients is more than a third of the revenue today.
Wow. And what was it that you identified 5 years ago that took you there? Because that was really ahead of the curve, right?
Right. Yeah, what took us there was really a recognition that in the previous digital conversions, whether it was photo book or commercial print, signage, we had already seen that web to print had grown immensely, that customers enjoyed that ability to create their own product and the timelines involved. In some ways, the democratization of high-end graphic packaging. And we had already created some CAD automation. And so we figured that if we could take our CAD automation and connect it to a front end that people might find it and be interested in buying that way. And it's been very successful for us.
And are there any particular characteristics of different kinds of customers who come to you through that channel and were coming to you through the more conventional business model?
Yeah, the customers that are coming to us through the web to print model tend to be smaller enterprises. They could be solopreneurs, but generally they're 5 to 25 full-time employees. And but there are many large, well-known brands that purchase through a model like Fantastipack. Sometimes it'll be a department within that entity, but in some cases it's also just very large purchases by large companies. It's an interesting mix.
That's definitely interesting. And in terms of things like service level, delivery times, do you have differences between a web to model and a conventional model, or up to the customer's requirements?
Yeah, you know, they as far as the requirements on lead time and service, there's not a lot of differentiation now. I would say that most orders are produced in 7 to 10 days, regardless of the sales avenue. Mm-hmm. But definitely in the web to print environment, we see a smaller average order size, and you can't explain as readily nuances in print and color and substrate. So that's a little bit different than where we have the direct salesperson involved. And we see lead times getting shorter. I mean, they're certainly not going to be getting longer.
This is a world where everyone wants everything yesterday, even though once upon a time they knew they had to wait a very long time.
That's right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit perhaps about the trends in your environment. You know, we're coming out, hopefully, of what has been the most unexpected year in our memory, and perhaps your lifetime and my lifetime. And what are the trends you see today in your business environment?
The primary trends that we see today are toward shorter runs, more complex shapes, and real-time supply chains. That last one especially, we have a lot of clients that, you know, with all of the materials constraints that have existed coming out of COVID, and the price increases that have been going on, allocation in some areas, clients are very, very keen to limit the fluctuations and the amount of inventory and obsolescence that they might have to take on.
I see. So they're expecting you to be more responsive and more flexible than ever before.
That's right.
This has presumably been an opportunity for you because you've built flexibility into your operational model that that more traditional businesses may have a harder time coping with.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that the investments that we've made in digital production, both print and finishing, as well as the technology investments to have a very streamlined and quick workflow, those are paying off because we have the ability to meet these market demands. I think that, you know, where I look at even just in the BoxMaker, in other product groups where we haven't made those same investments, you can certainly see the difficulty of the analog methods trying to keep up with the client base that wants everything digitally, or it wants everything now.
I see. So you just mentioned automation in workflow. This is stuff that you developed in-house?
Yes.
You've invested in people to build you differentiated infrastructure to help gain you these capabilities.
We have. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest differences between the BoxMaker today and the BoxMaker of the last, 40 years overall is the investment in technology. We have our own development team. We have people that write code, create software. They integrate different systems that don't like to talk to each other otherwise, and take a lot of complexity out of running hundreds of orders a day. That's really the issue. Most of our business systems in corrugated are very effective if you're running 10 orders a day at a machine center or per shift, and they're fairly large average order size. The time to create a spec and get an order produced in the system is not bad in most of our traditional systems. But when an order is for one piece and you probably won't get a repeat, at least of that exact same art, you can't commit that kind of time to creating the order. So yeah, our team helps modify that, and all the way up to things like automated routing between the plants, right? Which order should be fulfilled at Arkansas and which should be fulfilled in Seattle.
This is prior to my life at Highcon, I was working around this for a while, and it's kind of music to my ears to hear someone talking what I was talking for years as theory. You've made it happen and made it work, and that's very impressive. Let's start moving on to digital. You talked about digital. Before we talk about the Highcon investment,
sure.
You do digital printing as well, right? So I think I've read, which digital printing platforms are you using?
HP. We have Indigo on the label side, and then Cytex presses and the C500 page wide single pass for corrugated. We looked at a lot of alternatives. There are plenty of good presses out there from other manufacturers. In this particular case, HP met our needs better, and then they've been an outstanding partner, so it's been easy to consistently choose them.
So that kind of investment in digital printing means that you've created capabilities to turn jobs fast, and that presumably led to your decision to go look at Highcon, right? That's
right. It sure did. Yeah, this is the 11th year printing digitally, and we've had laser cutting about 5 months now, and it's really because of the needs of the business. There's a gap between what's produced on CAD and what's produced on analog die cutting or analog flexo converting equipment. And ultimately, the Highcon met the needs in that gap.
So your decision to buy a Highcon was made late last year?
I think that's right. I think we committed late last year or early this year, and Highcon responded very quickly because we were close a couple of times. This is the type of change in mindset that wasn't easy to arrive at, and so when we finally came around to the commitment, then it was very prompt. I think Highcon had the unit here, including shipping and everything, within 2 to 2.5 months. And so it's been operating about 4 months now, like I say, and our decision really entailed a review of all of the open order data, along with Highcon, Eddie Perret specifically from your team. And then we modeled future orders. And we also looked at the workflow changes that would be needed in order to take advantage of laser cutting. And as I mentioned, we have a highly automated workflow. So laser cutting represented both an opportunity and a challenge to the workflow. And we did also consider additional conventional equipment, but that's just more of the same. It wouldn't have done anything different for us.
It wasn't a game changer for you.
No.
And 4-5 months in, is Highcon turning into a game changer for you operationally?
Yeah, 4 to 5 months in, Highcon is definitely a game changer. We're quite satisfied. It's making very quick work of the order range that we modeled. We're even running a larger average order size than we originally anticipated. And we're receiving another Highcon within just a few weeks.
That's exciting. That's a pretty fast ramp up. Just one question that immediately comes to mind is that the corrugated industry is used to working on much larger sheet sizes than the Highcon works, and you have a Euclid 5C.
That's right.
what did you have to look at to determine that you could actually gain advantage with the what we'll call the non-conventional sheet format relative to the industry in which you operate?
Simon, in order to do that, we had to separate ourselves from the efficiency that we're used to in the print side. I mean, and I think this is typical of any producer of corrugated, certainly, but many other print media. The C500 is a 52 by 98 press, and now we're talking about printing at 29 by 41 or 30 by 42 with trim. And we had to model how we would do that, and our operating team kept coming back repeatedly and saying, okay, we have thousands of orders a month that fit this format, 29 by 41 in flutes that can run on the Highcon. And we have difficulty getting them out. We have a huge bottleneck at getting these orders specifically out of the building in a good timeline. And there's plenty of business to grow into. So once we realized that we could print all we wanted, it's extremely efficiently, but if we never get it out of the building, who cares, right? And that was really what we kept running into. We have plenty of print capacity. We don't have a problem being slightly less efficient in the print in order to take advantage of the true overall throughput that would happen if we had CAD, laser, and analog. And so we just kept coming back to that. The number of orders that we needed to get out that fit in a lane that's perfect for the Highcon Euclid 5C.
Okay, so you moved out of the traditional way of thought, identified an opportunity, you've been doing it for a while, and so far it's proving itself.
Yeah, the Highcon has enabled us to streamline hundreds of orders a month. We've reduced friction, and we've improved the overall service to our customers in the process. So we're very pleased with how it's turned out thus far.
That's great. How do you see it evolving over time?
Over time, we see more of the same, ideally a larger format, which makes sense because of the print dynamics and the sizes that we use in corrugated. But as mentioned, we're already getting a second Euclid 5C, and I suspect there will be more orders for Highcon units down the road.
Great. Tell me, you did a good due diligence process, but there's nothing like having a piece of equipment on the floor to really get to know it. Are there any things that you say that you've learned that you wish you'd known before you started because it could have reduced friction? And if so, what are things that other people might be able to learn from?
Yeah, there are definitely things that we know now that had we known them earlier. I think the big one is just that, it's the unknown, right? It's totally new. So are we going to be able to make use of it in the way that we think? Are the models going to be correct? And is the workflow going to come together? Had we known how well it would all come together and how quickly, I think we would have made this decision at least a year ago. So I think the main learning is I wish I had made that decision earlier. I think also what we know now that we wished we had known earlier is that DART, which is the ruling technology in the Highcon, that we could treat that as a consumable instead of trying to treat it as a conventional die.
Right.
Because that's a real change. I mean, we went into it with the idea that we would create all of these DART units and save them, much like analog dies or mag dies. Yeah. And now we actually find that that's less efficient for us. I don't think that would be the model for everybody, but certainly in our business, we find that it's best just to gang for the maximum yield on the sheet, regardless of which structures are on there, and then choose not to save that dart.
One of the challenges that I've often heard about over the years is how the people on the floor relate to the new technology. How did you react to Highcon?
Wow. I can see where there's so much, potential for, concern or just, I don't know, angst on the part of coworkers and operators and leaders at the floor level. Yeah, because it's different. Is it going to catch on fire? Is it going to be a suitable product? It's a new system that we have to integrate and have to learn. And I think our group, after 10 plus years of constant innovation and pushing the limits of what our industry does, I think they've become much more accustomed to these types of changes. And I would also say that we've become much better skilled at communicating with everybody about what's coming and why it's coming and why we see it as the next change. It's not change for change's sake, so to speak. And I think when we do that correctly, adoption goes much better.
Right. And the operators on the Highcon are people who are operating conventional die machines, or they're people who somewhere else?
Yeah, mix. We have 4 trained operators now running multiple shifts, and 2 of the 4 have past experience in the analog plant, but all 4 have been running digital equipment, either CAD and print, for several years. So they do have a good cross section of skills. We're very big on cross training. We'd like to have the people running that production center have at least 3 or 4 machines that they're fully capable of running.
That's a relatively unusual approach, but I understand why it makes sense.
Yes.
So tell me, we talked a little bit about how the machine is fitted in. What has been your experience with Highcon as a company, and particularly perhaps the people that you've been working with on an operational basis on the ground?
Yeah, our experience with Highcon has been excellent. Highcon's been very supportive. I believe that the entire team, from Shlomo on through to anybody here for the installation even, are really focused on our mutual success. And I find that there's a keen interest in improvement, continuous improvement. So I feel like it's a very good collaborative relationship already. And I that's very encouraging. Another business friend who has a Highcon for their folding cart business told me early on that Highcon's the only company that he finds trying to solve these business problems that we have around orders that need to fit this type of configuration, and that we really need to support companies that do that. And I think that's true. The relationship has started out really well, and it's encouraging in that regard, but also Highcon's the only company that I know of right now trying to solve these particular problems.
Thank you for that feedback, Richard. Certainly that's what we try and do, but one of the most gratifying things is to hear that a customer feels that, rather than it getting lost in translation and somehow not achieving the required or the desired impact. So thank you for that. Let's now kind of move on and just talk about a number of issues. So, for example, you talked a little bit about turning the dart into consumable rather than a traditional view to die. Do you look at it and say, okay, so that enables me to offer a different pricing model to my customers, and therefore perhaps lower the barrier to them to bring new jobs into existence?
Yeah, we have a really unconventional view of cost of converting and pricing. We understand the conventional view. My friends in the corrugated industry will understand. We have Amtech, and we have a fully burdened cost accounting system in Amtech where we can quote down to the cost of the load tag and the pallet and everything. And we used to spend a lot of time focused on all of those details. But it's very hard to post cost a job for 5 that was shared on a sheet with other jobs. And we figured out a long time ago that we should stop trying to do that. We would spend more money and time trying to analyze those orders than we were making on them. We're producing thousands of orders each week. Many of them are small, but some are large. And we're primarily focused on contribution per hour and the bottom line result. And when you're looking at hours and throughput, it makes it a lot easier to think about something like DART as a consumable, because it's just enabling a certain amount of contribution for the hours that the product is running, as opposed to thinking about it as a fixed tool that's going to repeat often. I would love it if they repeat it, but it's very unlikely in the way that we run that the same combination of shapes are going to run together in the same quantity again. So
it's particularly implausible because they're coming from different customers who are working on different cycles, and therefore it's a highly unlikely conflusion of events.
That's right. I would also say that we have DART that we save where we know that it's going to be this exact same structure repeatedly. So we do treat it like a traditional tool, and we catalog it and save it and enter it in a die system. And that also works very well. So if you are operating it more traditionally and not gaining different structures for different customers, we also find that it's very effective in that mode.
So you can choose the best of both worlds and choose what works for each individual production. Okay.
Agreed.
Turnaround time. You talked a little bit about turnaround time before, that they're getting shorter. Does the Highcon enable you to do different things with turnaround time than you would have been able to do without it?
Well, certainly just adding the throughput has enabled us to improve turnaround times. Our web to print business was oversold in the fourth quarter of last year. It became very difficult to keep up with demand, and lead times were stretched. Historically, we've had the option for clients to pay a reasonable premium for rush production, which might be 3-4 days sooner out of the plant, with 10 days being the norm, 10 calendar days. So putting in the Highcon has helped eliminate the backlog. Lead time is closer to the norm of 10 days. We've turned back on rush production. I think that rush production, there's a lot of competition in web to print now, and there are more digital producers. So, where 10 days was acceptable for years, it won't be soon. The standard will probably become 7 days, and then rush will be 4 or something like that. And then on the direct to brand sale, where our sales representatives are involved, we have some programs that are overnight. So we do some package customization and late stage decoration for some major brands and retailers where the lead time is truly next day. And the Highcon helps enable that. Okay.
Sustainability. What are your thoughts around sustainability, and perhaps also how does Highcon fit in? But altogether, what is your sustainability take?
Yeah, sustainability has been and continues to be highly important to our clients. I think it's just part of where we are regionally. People have been focused on that for many years, but we see it as not just a trend. We think that it's a very key decision point for clients, and we see them consistently making choices for the more sustainable package, and they're more and more sophisticated in their understanding as well, weighing many different elements, to the point that they even understand that my buying traditional tooling and then having to store it and then dispose of it, it has a has a burden on the environment. And so they'll calculate that. They understand setup waste, and they understand obsolescence in their warehouse. And so what we're seeing early on is that laser cutting permits us one more opportunity to eliminate some less friendly materials and reduce waste in the production of these products. Specifically as a foam fabricator, so we produce end caps and things out of polyethylene foam and polyurethane. We're already doing build-up pads that can replace foam end caps in some applications. Using the Highcon makes that much more feasible.
Great. That's an important sustainability contribution. When you think of Highcon, and not just today, but as you look a little bit into your future, and you talked about growing your capacity on Highcon, is Highcon just enabling you to be more efficient on what you've got, or is it actually a platform that helps you grow your business?
I believe it's both. I think that the Highcon is having an impact on efficiency of a certain range of orders. Thankfully, there are many of those orders every month, so that's worked out very well. But the fact that we can address those orders efficiently opens up the opportunity for new business growth. And then the capabilities of laser, where we're interacting with the client, it's just very different. A situation like take a tactical flashlight. Somebody might sell that with different attachments or configurations. It's very, very minor changes, but they would choose a package from us and try to have a one size fits all, right? So this is a real situation. We might have 17 configurations of how the client sells something, and they have to do it as an accessory pack, or they have to do it as different inserts. And so they end up with one size that doesn't work well, but somehow accommodates everything. And we go to them and say, you know what, we can actually run all 17 inserts exactly to the shape that you want, every single configuration. It's easy to do now because of the laser, but it has a different set of issues on the back end. The client doesn't know how to deal with 17 different SKUs coming into their plant. Right. So we're working on that aspect of it, but it definitely, we won that business because we could offer the different configurations versus a single standard put up that the competition was offering.
How easy or difficult is it to get the customers to engage in a conversation like that?
I think that getting clients to engage in a conversation like this is, it's varied, as you would expect, but in the current period, we find more and more people open to changing what they're doing. And we also find, frankly, via Zoom and other web formats, that there are different participants in the process than have been involved in the past. And that's opened up some different ideas and responses from clients. So I would encourage anybody thinking about it that, this might be the perfect time to show these types of alternatives to clients, because they are thinking differently than what we've seen.
I think that's a great way to segue into the last couple of questions, Richard. So I want to ask, looking ahead, how do you see trends continuing? What do you see happening in the market in terms of your customers and their customers, and what that does for you and what you're offering them?
Well, certainly we see, that, I mean, e-commerce for us represents both a method of sales and a very large customer group. And we would anticipate that e-commerce is, it's seen a huge boom in the last year and a half. I don't think we're going to see that recede much. And clients' expectations around a package experience and interacting with packaging, proper fit. We see proper fit as a fundamental outcome that clients want, and that's easier to do when you can highly vary the configurations. We think that the combination of e-commerce, sustainability, and perfect fit are probably going to continue to be aided by laser cutting and digital technologies. I think the supply chain simplification is probably the biggest one, though. Like we're initiating a change with a large medical client, and we inventory more than 100 corrugated SKUs for them. Okay, so in our warehouse, we have a large inventory commitment, and but they get their orders about 2 weeks before they pack them. So we're now talking with them about getting a signal when they get their order that tells us to produce the exact package that goes with that order. And the reason that this is important is, we have a lot of space tied up, they have space tied up, and the annual obsolescence is 15%. So, and it's over $1 million US spend annually. So we're talking about $150,000 that's getting thrown away or recycled every year, the impact environmentally. And so that supply chain change and the ability to connect to their immediate need for the right package, I think that's the long-term trend. I think that as soon as clients open up to those types of dynamics, it's a completely different ballgame for the packaging providers.
I think that's a very exciting and important possibility, because so many people just continue working the way they always work because that's the way they always worked. And honestly, in 2021, so many of those things no longer make sense, and in fact haven't made sense for a while. But it takes something to jar them out of their comfort zones and open their eyes to the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, last question. What are your aspirations? What would you hope for over the next couple of years for the BoxMaker?
Well, looking ahead, we aspire to make great use of laser cutting and our broader laser or our broader digital, capabilities. We're likely to add more Highcon equipment, as I said, and we're going to continue to streamline the pre-production workflow. That's really where a lot of work needs to be done. It's it's a whole new field laying out these files, and we've already automated a lot of the functions, but there's still some human interaction to generating all of these different layouts. And so I think that we'll just continue to work diligently on streamlining, because at thousands of orders a month, you can imagine if you're just spending 5 minutes per file, it adds up to an awful lot of time. So yeah, I think that's really where we see it going. We hope for larger format capabilities down the road. We think that will continue to align better with the growing number of single pass and frankly even flexo printed or litho created projects. When you get into something greater than 50 inches.
Okay. Audience, there are no questions yet as far as I can see. Is that correct?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Anybody have a question? You've got a few moments to put a question in the text box. Otherwise, we will call this a wrap. While we wait, in any case, I'd like to express my deep appreciation, Richard, for you taking the time to join us, for your openness in this conversation, and for the partnership and the trust that the BoxMaker has placed in Highcon. We know that it's not a trivial decision to buy new technology from a relatively young, relatively small vendor. We are honored that you've put your trust in us, and we'll do our best to live up to your expectations and more.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yeah, I'm very pleased to participate. There are, esteemed guests on, including some friends from the industry, and we've found over the years that people have shared with us, people have been open with us about the use of these technologies in other fields, and that have helped us move ahead. And so we look at it as an opportunity to share, some observations with others and kind of pay that forward. So it's worked out well.
Great. Okay. Just to finish off, okay, 1 second. I need to put up a thank you slide, unless someone else can do that for me. Okay, here it is. So let's do this. As I say, thank you once again, and thank you to our audience. There we are. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. If anybody wants to contact Richard and BoxMaker, there's an email here for them. If you want to contact Highcon, you can do so here as well. We will have another fireside chat next week with Ian Cornetta, the managing director of Delga Group in the UK, a very different business, also using Highcon technology. And this is an opportunity for people to see, to learn, to share. And again, thank you to Richard for sharing with us. And if anybody on the call has an interest in placing an order with the BoxMaker doesn't just serve brands, it serves the trade as well. And Richard, would be delighted to talk to you as well. So thank you, everybody. Absolutely. And hopefully you will have found this interesting and thought-provoking. And until next time, thanks very much. And Richard, it's the beginning of your week. It's Monday morning in the Northwest. I wish you a great day and a great week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.